Man metal detecting discovers rusty spoon, then looks a little closer and chokes up. One stranger's trash is another's treasure. Is it a cliché? Sure. But sometimes it turns out to be true. Over in Scotland, a man with a metal detector heard a loud series of beeps, and after getting his hands dirty, he found the source: pieces of English history. But later on, the hunter wondered if it was worth all the trouble. Metal detectors in hand, Derek McClellan and his friend Reverend David Bartholomew went out onto the grounds of the Church of Scotland. It appeared it was going to be a day like any other. McClellan had already searched the area for a year in vain. He wondered if his biggest triumph was already behind him. Previously, McClellan had discovered an underground stockpile of medieval coins. Remarkably, he was just a few years into his metal detecting career. McClellan had made quite the legacy for himself. But what about now? One day back in September 2014, McClellan went along the grounds again. With his friend and armed with his metal detector, McClellan once again searched the surrounding area. Then the device whizzed awake. The initial discovery was already a rarity. Buried under 2 feet of dirt, McClellan had picked up something that his device never managed to locate before. Excited, the treasure hunter began to dig. He hoped it was something more than some tin cans left by a litter bug. Clearly, the find was much older. The hunters uncovered a silver arm ring first. Then there was a gold ingot, beads, and decorated cup with possible Byzantine origins. Finally, the rusted spoon was taken out. It seemed like the least valuable item of the bunch, at first. Based on the age of the objects and their proximity to the church, it appeared that the cache was the product of a Viking raid. The marauders frequently targeted religious sites for their precious metals and gemstones. These treasures must have been hidden away or left behind. Following a bit of cleanup, McClellan and Bartholomew contacted the authorities. This wasn't a purely altruistic move either. All of the artifacts were housed in the National Museums of Scotland, which promised a very lucrative payday to the finders. Reporters dubbed the find the Galloway Hoard. Close to 100 items were discovered. Not bad for a painstakingly long search of the grounds. Once the relics were given over to experts, they were carefully studied and cataloged. That was when experts discovered that the spoon was something else entirely. Using a specialized instrument, the rusted spoon was revealed to be a religious artifact. More specifically, it was a 10th century Anglo-Saxon silver cross. It glimmered in its natural beauty, and historians eagerly analyzed the symbols etched across its surface. The cross was to be worn, likely by a high-powered individual. Seen along its surfaces were the Gospel authors of the New Testament, symbolized by earthly figures. There was a man for Matthew, a lion for Mark, a cow for Luke, and an eagle for John. Thrilling as the discovery was, it also came with some questions. Namely, who was going to be paid for the find and how much? Originally, the plan was, should McClellan have discovered anything, a $3 million prize would be split up. That meant McClellan would take a share, and so would the Church of Scotland. An unwritten rule among the metal detector community has been that if any valuables are found, the cash reward is shared with the landowners. Yet an actual law of Scotland states something completely different, that these treasures are finders' keepers. The money issue of the Galloway Hoard got more complicated from there. Reverend Bartholomew shifted his loyalties as the Church of Scotland realized his friend was going to take the reward for himself, as he legally could. Granted, McClellan's intentions were pure. McClellan and his girlfriend Sharon went forward and created an organization that helped veterans, called Beyond the Beep. Its purpose was to aid in the mental health of the veterans who had recently returned from tours of duty. While it was a noble cause, this charity did not keep McClellan free from controversy. The landowners where McClellan had discovered the hoard, on the other hand, planned to use their share for the local parish. The two parties reached an agreement about splitting the profits, until it disappeared. McClellan soon disappeared from negotiations and seemingly from the face of the earth. The issue escalated to the point where the Church of Scotland directly reached out to Bartholomew. McClellan's friend did his best in the meantime. Emails were sent and phone calls were made, but Bartholomew couldn't reach him. He soon learned his treasure-hunting companion might have had another goal in mind. Not long after McClellan had struck luck with his find, he and his partner Shannon were involved in a terrible car accident. Bartholomew believed the costs of recovery might have played into McClellan going back on his word. Bartholomew tried to visit McClellan with no luck. All communications by McClellan had been halted. Left with no other choice, the Church of Scotland resorted to the next stage in attaining their share of the reward. The matter became a legal one in 2019, with the Church of Scotland hoping to seek a financial payday with the help of a court ruling. If McClellan found out he was being sued, however, he was keeping hush on it. The friendship between Rev. Bartholomew and McClellan appeared to have fallen apart, if not ended altogether. Perhaps a repair is in the future for them. Then again, the odds might be against that happy ending, depending on the judge's ruling. As for the Galloway hoard, the National Museum of Scotland made plans to settle discoveries in a special exhibit. The silver lining of the find was that experts could uncover a new chapter in British history, though it didn't necessarily end well for the men who discovered it. In fact, McClellan could now be facing serious legal ramifications.